Good morning, Washington! Something like that, I guess. But welcome back to the Evergreen Report. Washington state politics affect your safety, your taxes, and your family. Whether you pay attention or not, here on the Evergreen Report, we make sure you do. This is the Evergreen Report, where we expose the impact of our local government so you can take action. All right, well, welcome in, everybody. I'm your host, Jay. Super excited to be with you guys and to talk to you guys about what's going on around our state. It's been a busy week down over in Olympia, and I'm excited to break down a lot of these bills, some of these stories, some of these headlines, and jump into it. I do just want to recap a couple things here at the top, our top stories, our opening here. I was able to attend a bi-county meeting here in Benton, Franklin counties in Washington state, so southeast Washington. It was really insightful. It was really cool to experience that, to see the two county commissioners come together and see how they can work really closely together. And they shared a lot of ideas. They shared a lot of the same passions. They talked about veteran services, behavioral health services, and human services as well. And just some of the things, especially in behavioral health, that's where the sector I personally work in. And so I was really intrigued to hear the different things that they're doing, things that are coming, grant programs and whatnot. And they challenge those things. They would ask, where are these things coming from? How are they going to be funded? What's the point of that? And so that was really, really interesting to hear. I really personally enjoyed it. And secondly, I attended a school board meeting. I attended the business portion of the meeting, which is an hour and a half before to about a half hour before. So it starts at 4. School board meeting starts at 5:30. But the business meeting was even more interesting than the school board meeting, in my opinion, as it's just like it was like a brainstorming session. Oh, well, what about this? Or what about this? And what about this? And my favorite thing that I think they talked about that I would be fully in support of, however, if it can pass and make happen, was we have multiple alternative schools here. So they focus on 3 different alternative schools here in the Tri-Cities. Legacy, one starts with an E, and a third one, I don't remember what it was. But they were talking about this idea of, why do we have 3 schools, 3 alternative schools? We pay for 3 different graduation ceremonies. We pay for 3 of everything. Why not just combine all those schools onto one campus with one team of it, take all these resources, have one team of administrators, the teacher teams from all 3 of these schools, transfer it over and kind of have this alternative program. They also talked a lot about, during the school board meeting, about like technical education and whatnot, and about what our schools are doing for like the CTE program. And so it was just all really interesting to hear and kind of take in. I don't have too much to comment on any of the meetings, as I was just there as an observer and kind of taking notes and just understanding kind of how these things work. And so it was really interesting. And of course, they got into a budget report, and that's when I, went out to dinner with my lovely wife, and we went and got some sushi. I don't eat sushi. I'm the guy that goes to a sushi restaurant and get teriyaki chicken. I actually got teriyaki beef. So if that matters to anyone. Anyways, into the show. So our top story today. M's push to repeal Washington's cap on property tax hikes, and voters are pushing back. House Bill 1334. Let me pull this up here. So what I'm doing, I have 2 different docs open. I have my episode doc, and of course I have my research doc. So I want to make sure I give you guys all the things that, how it's going to affect you, how it does it impact you, how is it funded, and the overall impact on the public. So those are things we should be asking about every single one of these bills. Top story today, House Bill 1334 is making headlines as it aims to remove Washington's 1% cap on annual property tax increases. Over 12,000 people opposed it in a recent hearing, compared to just 139 in favor. So if you can't do math like me, so I'm going to bust out my handy dandy calculator. Thanks to Try and Math teaching me how to do this. And 139 divided by 12,000, that's 0.01%. So 0.011% of people were in favor of this, because no one wants property tax hikes. We need to stop. We need to do the opposite of this. The inverse of this would be great. For people who own property, to have some kind of cap on how much it can actually be raised over the span of their mortgage. It's kind of crazy that as residents of our country, and we buy a home, we pay for it for 30 years, and then we still have to pay property tax on that, on the property or home that we own is on. So we're still basically renting the land from the government, which doesn't make sense. This is a really big thing for the seniors who own these homes. They have to leave Washington, and it's just a mess. The property tax thing is a mess. The economic impact. This could increase costs from homeowners and renters, making Washington even less affordable, because this is going to affect both the average resident and the renter, because the property that your apartments are on, the property tax is going to go up. And so that means rent is also going to go up at the same time. So just we want to jump into that. We want to think about that. 1334, go make your voice heard. ledge.wa.gov, type in 1334 into the search bar, and you'll be able to find that just fine. Regardless, that's our top story for today. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, please reach out. I'd be happy to answer those. Go ahead and head over to x.com/Evergreen Report, EVEERGREENRPT, because too many handles of Evergreen Report, I guess, and reach out, message me, tag me in a message, anything like that you want to do. Anyways, moving on. This next segment is the Evergreen Ledger. So this is just a legislative roundup. So we're going to go through a couple bills here that I just want to talk about just to make sure that you're aware and you know what the hell is going on with these ones, because these two are important to me personally, and they should be important to you as well. So the first one is Senate Bill 5382, changes to the ballot petition process. So this introduces stricter verification rules for ballot initiatives. Pro prevents fraud and increases election integrity. Con, it makes it harder for grassroots movements to qualify initiatives. And that should be the end all be all of this one. Making it harder for the people's voices to be heard is absolute insanity. Like, how our government wants to do that is insane. So overall, a summary of this bill introduces new signature verification and residency confirmation rules for citizen-led ballot initiatives to prevent fraud. So they are making it harder so that these grassroots people who are trying to get these legislative initiatives and things signed, they can't just go to the grocery store, right? They have to have the process, make it harder, signature verification, residency confirmation, but we still don't have voter ID. So I'm just saying, think about that. Who is most affected by this bill? Voter advocacy groups and grassroots campaigns on both sides of the aisle will be affected by this. So this is one of those rare opportunities where Republicans and Democrats and people in the middle can all come together and be like, wait, you're trying to take our voice away from us. Why are you trying to do that? Can you not do that? That would be great. Citizens wanting to introduce ballot measures. If you are an average citizen and you have a great idea for how we can fix this godforsaken state, I say godforsaken, I still live here. I still love Washington. Don't get me wrong. But if you have an idea, it's going to make it virtually next to impossible for you to say that idea or to have ballot measures introduced in the current process we have. Election officials and the Secretary of State office is also affected by this. I mean, not as much. It makes their jobs easier because then they can kind of just keep passing what they want. They don't have to worry about what the people say, how they say it, what they say, any alternative ideas. They don't have to consider those. They can just keep pushing their agenda. Very, very bad. Very bad. How does it impact everyone? So it makes it harder to qualify initiatives for ballots due to the new verification processes. More stringent signature collection and verification requirements could reduce fraudulent initiatives, but also makes it harder for grassroots groups. It's already hard enough to try to get something new on the ballot, already hard enough to try to get a new initiative across the board in Washington and our state legislators. So making it harder, of course, let's make it harder. Let's not make anything easier for people. Let's make it harder and take voices away. Overall impact on the public. Pro, this could reduce fraudulent signatures and increase election integrity. I don't believe it. I don't buy it. I don't see it, but it is what it is. Restricts grassroots democracy by making ballot measures harder to qualify, because that's what we want. We want ballot measures to be harder to qualify for. Nobody wants that. I don't know who in Olympia said, hey, it's probably Jamie Peterson. Let's be real here. He's kind of crazy. So, but they said, hey, let's take this out of the people's hands and let's not hear their voices. And, just continue to push our agendas and however we want to push them, when we want to push them, how we want to push them. And the people have no say if they want to counter everything. We're just going to be able to push it through because we're not going to listen to them anyway. So let's just make that into law. So it's absolutely ridiculous. So I would 100% go and oppose 5382 ledge.wa.gov. Go type it in. Next one here, House Bill 1092, expediting clemency for deportation cases. Let me pull this one up. 1092. I should organize these better. Maybe I already passed it. 1092. Oh, right here. Perfect. Right at the top. And so just a brief overview of this. Prioritizes pardons for immigrants facing deportation over past criminal convictions. Pro, keeps families together, reduces legal costs. Okay. Critics say it favors non-citizens over public safety. And that's where we want to break this down. The bills streamlines the clemency and pardons process for individuals facing deportation due to past criminal convictions. I'm sorry, if someone is here illegally and they've been committing crimes, why would we give them a break? They're in our country, they're in Washington, hurting Washingtonians, Americans, but let's give them a break. Let's expedite this process for them to get pardoned and to get clemency and, to stay here. They'll be fine. It'll be fine. Do you not give a shit about the public, about kids, about people, about women, about children? In general, I know the woke liberals in Seattle probably can't defend themselves from a lot of these violent criminals. So what? Why? No, this is bad. This is not good. If a petitioner can prove they have a pending deportation order, the Clemency and Pardons Board must prioritize their application for review. So that takes away from a hard-working American citizen who maybe has spent 25 years in prison for crime, and they're petitioning to the Clemency and Pardons Board to get out of jail or to, receive clemency for their crimes, their past crimes, convictions, and whatnot. But someone who's facing a deportation case is going to take priority over that person. Let's say this is an African-American man who has been in prison for 20 years, finally gets to get in front of the Clemency and Pardons Board. Finally has his day, right? But nope, 3 immigrant cases who are facing deportation are going to take priority over. You have to keep waiting. The heartbreak that would have, the absolute earth-shattering, like, I've been working so hard for this. Never going to get out. Not good behavior. I've been doing all the thing. It was my turn. My turn is just taken. Because someone illegal, facing deportation, who also has committed crimes, is going to get to be heard first. Before me, an American, a Washingtonian, 20 years in the system, doing everything I was told. I just get skipped over. That sucks. That sucks. The sponsors of this are Senators Hasegawa, Frame, Orwell, Saldana. This passed the Senate actually on February 7th, 2025, with a Senate of 30-19. So it's going through the legislative process. I hope this bill dies, because this is just, again, prioritizing violent criminals or prioritizing non-citizens over public safety. So who's the most affected? Immigrants with criminal record facing deportation. No other country says, okay, you can come to my country, commit crimes, and then we're going to, expedite your process to, essentially get out of jail and stay here. No other country. They would say, get out. Go back to where you came from. You're gone. We're deporting you. You're out of here. But not America. It's crazy. Families of deportation-affected individuals, of course, they'll be affected too. Washington's legal system and immigration attorneys, of course, they're probably having a field day with this. How it impacts this population, it allows faster and pardon reviews for those at risk of deportation. Again, if you're here illegally and you've been committing crimes, you should not get a expedited seat at the table for the Clemency and Pardon Board. If you don't know what the Clemency and Pardon Board is, what is the Clemency and Pardons? I can't spell. Clemency and Pardons Board. So the board makes recommendations to the governor or petitions for a pardon or commutation of a sentence. The board is not limited to the relief request by the petitioner. So that's basically what this board does. If Washington State, certain rights are afforded victims and survivors of these victims. These rights are listed in RCW, blah, 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 blah. Hearings are open to the public. So all hearings of this board are open to the public. Do I have a right to attend a hearing? Everyone has a right to attend a hearing if they're open to the public. Survivors of victims and witnesses of crimes have the following right. With respect to victims, survivors, we present a statement to the board in person, via audio, blah, 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 blah. Who else can attend these meetings? Other persons permitted to attend may include petitioner's family, friends, attorneys, members of the media, or an interested party. Anyone may attend the board hearings. If you're a victim, you can call, email, things like that. Will I be permitted to speak? Inmate is being released. Release of offenders from prison, those who enroll for this service. So you have to enroll to know if someone that committed a crime against you is going to be released. If you don't want to attend a hearing, you don't have to. If you choose not, you may submit a timely written or recorded statement that will be considered by the board. What can happen? The board makes recommendations to the governor on petitions for a pardon or commutation of sentence. The board is not limited to the relief requested by the petitioner. The board staff will prepare a brief written summary of each petition hearing, makes recommendations to the governor. And so, yeah, this is basically a pardon or a commutation of their sentence, which is so sad that illegal immigrants who are committing crimes in our country will get precedence over Washingtonians. So I sure hope this bill dies. It may reduce incarceration and legal costs for the state. I can see this going two ways. It's like, yep, you're illegal, you committed crimes, but you're legal, you're here illegally. We got to grant this to you because that's the agenda. We got to follow the agenda. We got to follow the playbook. No ifs, ands, or buts. Follow the playbook. How's it funded? There is no direct appropriation, so there's no funds, no additional funds coming for this bill. But let's see. But funding will come from an existing Clemency board resources. So the funds will come from within the board already. Sorry, I'm just checking messages here. I do still work a day job, so I got to make sure I am. Let's see. So Got to make sure I stay up on that as well. So anyways, overall impact to the public. The support's keeping families together and reducing unnecessary deportations, which, yes, great. I don't want to see a whole family deported. I don't want to see families broken up. But if there is someone in that family that's been committing illegal crimes and they're here illegally committing crimes, I'm sorry, there needs to be due process for that. But if you're here in a country illegally, you shouldn't be entitled to the Constitution and things like that. So it's such a mess. A lot of reform needs to happen to make these things crystal clear to what these illegals can have and what they can't have. Critics argue that it favors non-citizens over public safety concerns. Absolutely it does. It 1 bajillion% does. So just something to think about there. While we're speaking on the topic of crime here, let's jump into the crime and consequences segment of our discussion today. So crime and consequences. This is a segment on the podcast that's all new. As you notice, we're doing all new segments today. Try to see what works, what doesn't work, and how this flows and whatnot. So we're working on it. It's a work in progress. I figured a segment kind of based show versus the show that we had. We're just going through bills. It didn't really seem feasible. I didn't really like it. It just seemed like hitting you with a lot of information and not a lot of opinion in between. It wasn't organized, so I want to organize it. I like to be organized. So far, so good. Crime and consequences. We're going to be talking about public safety. So Senate Bill 5071, expanding endangerment with a controlled substance. So I absolutely love this bill. I am a big pro on this bill. Being a child who was affected by addiction because of my mother's addiction, I am a big pro on this bill. So overall, this bill lowers the legal standard to charge parents with felonies for exposing kids to fentanyl. So it expands, right? It's going to expand felony charges. It's going to lower legal standard. It's going to make it more accessible to charge parents with endangerment, with controlled with substances. More protection for kids. That's always a big pro. That should be the end all be all of this argument, but nope. There's cons that some say it criminalizes addiction instead of promoting treatment. Yes, sometimes for an addict, especially with fentanyl or other incredibly hard drugs, you do have to criminalize it to wake them up and to get them some kind of treatment and help involuntarily. That's just how it happens sometimes, unfortunately, where there's no other choice and they have to get clean and they have to go through that. So bill summary: expands felony charges for child exposure to fentanyl and synthetic opioids. Lowers burden of proof for convictions from knowingly and intentionally to knowingly and recklessly. So if they're recklessly using it around their kids, they can be charged. It expands these felony charges for child exposure to fentanyl and synthetic opioids. So it opens up another category. So fentanyl is a crazy problem here in the state of Washington. It is an absolute epidemic. It's an absolute crisis. Something that we need to be talking about. So who's affected? Parents and guardians using drugs. So if you're using drugs, you may want to rethink, doing that. If you have kids in general, those two things don't go hand in hand. Drugs and raising children. It's normally not successful, especially fentanyl and synthetic opioids. Foster care parents and protection agencies. So again, we may get more kids into the system. We also have to fix the system. There needs to be major reform in our system as well. But regardless, law enforcement and courts, of course, they're going to be more involved. More parents could face felony charges if children are exposed to fentanyl, which, yeah, fentanyl is terrible. I remember one time I worked at a gas station and I had no clue what fentanyl was. I had no clue. And one of my employees said, "Hey, I think someone just, smoked fentanyl in the bathroom. It just smells really bad." I'm like, "I don't know." And I went and I smelled, I took a big whiff, and then I had to go home for the rest of the day, like 30 minutes later, because I had that secondhand inhalation and I had to go get checked by the doctor. And it was wild. It was the worst feeling of my life. So fentanyl is really bad, really, really bad. You can see how it affects people in Seattle. There's different districts where you can see the Seattle slump happening, for lack of a better term. So yes, if you're on fentanyl and using it around your kids intentionally or recklessly, knowingly, you absolutely should be held accountable for that. This expands protections to all children, not just dependent children. So it's any child in the presence of an adult using fentanyl will be held accountable. And I have worked with kids personally where there's a fentanyl user in the home and CPS does nothing. They do absolutely nothing because there's deniability. So this is a huge step in the right direction. I love this bill. This needs to be absolutely pro. How's it funded? Law enforcement and court system budget. So again, there would be some expansion on those budgets, I assume. I don't know how that works, but that's where kind of the funds would come from. Overall impact on the public: protects children from fentanyl exposure. Yes, please. Some argue it criminalizes addiction instead of promoting treatment. Sometimes you have to criminalize the addiction to promote the treatment. People who are on these drugs, they're not right. They're really struggling. They don't want to get off of them. And so sometimes you have to criminalize it to get them to get clean. And Washington State does do a fairly decent job at finding ways, working with DCYF, working with the guardian ad litem, working with CPS, caseworkers, things like that, to be able to do the things to get your kids back. And so there is always hope to get your kids back. Recovery is possible. I've seen it happen firsthand, time and time again. Senate Bill 1399, modernizing law enforcement hiring. This one is under fire. And so a little bit about this bill. Updates eligibility for sheriffs, police chiefs, and marshals. Bans untrained volunteers from law enforcement duties. Pro ensures better public safety and police leadership, allegedly. Con, some argue it overregulates police hiring. So let's break this down, because I've heard it pitched a couple ways. So the bill summary: updates eligibility requirements for sheriffs, police chiefs, and marshals, strengthens background checks and training, limits the use of untrained volunteers in law enforcement. Who's most affected? Of course, law enforcement agencies, officers, sheriffs, police chiefs, and marshals, local government, and communities. How it's impacted: requires stronger hiring standards and background checks for law enforcement officers or leaders. Who's doing that? Who's doing those checks? Who's the people here? Prohibits untrained volunteers from participating in law enforcement activities. So that would be good. We don't want untrained people, getting hurt, things like that, while they're doing law enforcement activities or ride-alongs or shadowing or anything like that. But the part that I guess I neglected in my research here, state law enforcement's budget. One thing that is kind of convoluted in all this is that it would take away the election process, and these sheriffs, chiefs, and marshals would just be appointed by the state. They would just be appointed by the government. Whoever they decide they want. A DEI hire, someone unqualified, someone that can push their agenda, police force, someone that will support them what they want to do, all those things. So just remember that. This is very important. Very, very, very important to keep that in mind. Anyways, I don't want to spend too much time on this just because this bill is so convoluted and so complicated, but we don't want to take away the process that we currently have for sheriffs, chiefs, and marshals. We want those people to be picked by the public, not appointed by the government, because we know our government, they're going to appoint people that are going to push their agenda and continue pushing it no matter what. Especially in our police force, that just creates a bigger public safety issue than we already have. All right. Regardless, that's our crime and consequences segment. Let's jump into the tax trap. So the tax trap. We're going to be talking about taxes and budgets here. We got a couple bills I want to go over here. So the first one is House Bill 1356. Man, the list has been lisping lately. K through 12 education funding reform. So let me find this one on my note, my handy dandy document. Perfect, we're right there. Raises school levies and removes cap on special education funding. Pro, more money for schools and special needs students. Con, higher property tax for homeowners. Someone's got to pay for it. Why not people who are already paying property tax? Let's just raise it for them. These levies and whatnot. We already have so many levies. And okay, let's just break this down before I get into any opinion on this, and I'll give opinions as I go. Just talk about the bill as is first. This bill, summary, expands education funding by increasing local school levies, expanding special education funding, establishing a K through 12 funding equity work group. Why we need to have more work groups when we already got enough people working there? I don't know. Who's affected? Students, teachers, school district, taxpayers, obviously. Parents relying on special education services, obviously. Homeowners due to potential property tax hikes, yes. So how does this impact them? Well, increases school levy limits from $3,149 per student to $5,035 by 2031. So over the next 6 years, they want to increase it by $2,000 per student. We are already in like the top 5, if not around top 5, top 7, let's say that. I don't know the exact number, but we're already in one of the highest paying states per student, yet 8th graders are failing math, 4th graders are barely literate. So why would we spend more when we need to actually teach them something that matters? Our curriculum sucks, and it's so bad. It's so bad. Why do we need more money when we're not even using the money we're spending right now appropriately? Removes the 16% cap on special education enrollment funding, ensuring schools receive more funding for students with disabilities. That can be good. Expands local effort assistance, LEA funding to help low-income districts. Okay, that's not the worst thing. So those are some good things, but I'm not in favor of levies. I'm not in favor of more taxation. I'm not in favor of this. How about we cut something we don't need so that we can use a program like this, so that we can actually pay for this program ourselves without having to tax the common person? We already have the money. We already have a massive deficit in the state as it is. So how about we cut, more than just $70,000 for carpet from the governor's mansion, and we allocate those funds appropriately to this. So higher school levies, which no. Increased property tax, no. For people who are trying to buy a house, more property tax on top of the tax that already is there, on top of insurance, on top of the home itself. If you're trying to buy a home, they're trying to make it harder and harder and harder for us to buy homes. My generation, millennials, generations coming after me, I think Gen Z or whatever, making it harder for us to buy homes, purchase homes in the state, and stay here in the state. They want to drive us out and try to keep us here and find creative ways to keep us here. But no, let's raise the taxes. The pro is more funding for schools, teachers, special education. We have a massive budget deficit. We don't need to create more money for stuff that may not even get funded. Equity board, what's that even mean? What are they going to do? That's what I want to know. Raises property taxes is a con, which hurts homeowners. Yes, it doesn't potentially, it does hurt homeowners. Hurts every single homeowner in the state that has to pay a higher property tax to fund this reform, when you could just reform your budget as it is to make it work more effectively for your students. So that's my argument here. The other one I want to jump into here is the wealth tax proposal and jumpstart payroll expansion. So Washington's considering a 1% wealth tax on fortunes over 100 million. We're also looking at expanding Seattle payroll statewide, which I don't know. The impact of this could drive high income earners and businesses out of state. Yeah, that's what we want. We want to drive people out of state. The reason businesses stay in a state or come to a state is because there's a tax break. There's something that they can get out of the state that helps their business, helps them stay profitable, helps them be more profitable, help them pay their people more. Yes, should there be a tax on these wealthies? Sure, everyone should pay what they need to pay. But there's ways to get around them. The government officials, they don't pay these taxes. They use the tax breaks that are in the system. They use the system that allows for it, because that's what you do. You use the tax breaks as you can to benefit yourself. So just something to think about there. I'm not in favor of this. I don't think we should have Seattle's payroll tax statewide. I think that would impact a lot of businesses, small businesses too, because what good will that do if businesses now have a payroll tax, and that's going to affect wages, it's going to affect raises, it's going to affect cost of living, it's going to affect people switching jobs, changing jobs, business staying, business going, how many people they hire, all that fun stuff. It's going to make it harder for businesses to function, which you don't want. You want to make it easier for businesses to do business in your state. Anyways, there's some fallout from both those bills, but there's also a big fallout here. We touched on it earlier, fentanyl and fallout. So we're going to talk about drugs and homelessness here, which I agree probably should have come after public safety. So public frustration over homelessness policies. 80% of Washington voters, 80% say homelessness policies aren't working. No brainer. Duh. They don't work. Our homelessness policies absolutely are garbage. Garbaggio. So it's terrible. Oh, I guess let me back up here. Let me back up. I did want to control wealth tax, jumpstart payroll tax. Okay, we covered that. There's also some property taxes included in that. House Bill 2117 seeks to cap rent increases at 7% annually for existing tenant, aiming for affordability. Wealth tax proposal, we talked about that. Jumpstart payroll, we talked about that already. Okay, cool. Let's see. I want to make sure I don't miss anything here. We're going to get into that one. Where's my homelessness article? I don't think I have it here. I know I do. See, I really need to organize this into how they're going to go hand in hand here. But Dems are pushing to repeal Washington's cap on property tax hikes. So that's House Bill 1334, which I think we talked about already. Weekend initiative process, we talked about that. Okay, homelessness. Here we go. So in addition to all these points that I just made, so we spend millions on programs, yet homelessness is still rising. Half of our homelessness population isn't local, isn't from our state, isn't from our region. Where are they coming from? Like they were brought here. You can get into conspiracy as you want. So the public frustration grows over government's negative homelessness results. So the main topic of this is the article discusses, and this is an article from Change Washington, discusses widespread public dissatisfaction with the current homelessness policies in the state, particularly criticizing the housing first approach. The survey in this article finds that 80% of voters view homelessness as a serious issue in their communities, with many believing that existing strategies have exacerbated the problem, which they have. Critique on the policy: it restricts landlords, suggesting they have to lead to increased vacancies and financial losses, thereby worsening homelessness. Yeah, when you're raising property tax, when you're using property tax for all these things, they have to raise the rent. When you're raising the cost of energy and everything like that, it affects renters, it affects landlords, it affects them being able to have people in their homes, in their properties, because they keep having to pay more and more and more and more and more. Wages aren't keeping up. We have to pay more and more for everything: groceries, housing, food, water, everything. We have to pay more and more and more. So whatever's working, whatever they're doing isn't working, hasn't worked. Policies may not effectively address the needs of the homeless. Yeah, we see that. Landlord, financial challenges due to restrictive housing laws. Bad. General public expressing frustration over ineffective use of tax dollars. Yeah, bad. And then some lawmakers want to prevent cities from banning encampment, but 60% of voters opposes. Yeah, we should ban encampment. We don't want to enable them to just stay where they're at and then create a whole tent city, or We've had the tent city issue since I was a kid in like the early 2000s, late 90s. We've had tent cities forever. We don't want to create more of that. We want less. Less is more in this situation. Less is more. We want less. Anyways, another drugs, homelessness, crime thing here is, and this one had me thinking. So, a King County drug dealer arrested for selling on the dark web. 287,000 cryptocurrency profits seized. They were also selling fentanyl and meth through the dark web. Crypto is being used to fund the drug trade. So this article, again, from Como News. So good on Como for covering this. An individual was arrested for operating a drug distribution network on the dark web, accumulating significant earnings in cryptocurrency. So the details: the suspects sold illicit substances, including methamphetamine and fentanyl, through dark web marketplaces, accepting payments in cryptocurrency. They uncovered approximately $287,000 in cryptocurrency assets linked to the illegal activities. And the operation involved multiple agencies, highlighting the challenges of tackling cyber-enabled drug trafficking. This is something new that I never heard of, but it makes sense. So now, dark web, crypto, drugs, that's a scary, scary combo. Scary, scary combo in itself. So the local communities, of course, are impacted on this because they're exposed to increased drug distribution and associated risk. So now you can do this through crypto. You can sell drugs. You can do it on this other way. Man, it's so important to just be aware, and to know what your kids are doing, to know what's going on online, and to just be just aware of how these things are affecting you in your local communities, because they're getting funded somehow, and they're not face-to-face transactions anymore. They're going through it here, online, cryptocurrency. I mean, criminals will find a way, and they will find a way to not get caught. Cryptocurrency is so hard to trace because you can exchange it, put in different wallets, things like that, and man, it can be really difficult. So good on law enforcement for finding this one. The complexity of policing cyber-related drug crimes is a whole new issue that we didn't have many years ago, but something that's new that we have to fight against. We have to know. The case uncovers a growing trend of criminals utilizing digital currencies to facilitate and conceal illicit crime activity. So again, thank you, Como, for covering the story. There's a lot going on in our state. Drugs, homelessness, public safety, they all are big issues that we're facing every day. Yet our legislatures want to focus on, ideally, wrong thing. They want to make public safety harder, make life more unaffordable. But anyways, I digress. Let's jump into our next segment, Schoolhouse Scramble. Again, this one probably should have come. I can organize these more so they're more cohesive. We're jumping around a lot to a lot of different topics, but we're playing with it. We're learning here. So Schoolhouse Scramble, as it sounds, we're going to be talking about education and family specifically. So our education system is absolutely so terrible. Our kids are just failing and they're getting hurt. Our kids are hurting. It's so bad, people. I don't know if you understand how bad it is. I really don't understand if you understand how bad it is right now. But a solution may be on the horizon. But it's so bad right now. 8th grade math, 4th grade reading scores are down, despite a 110% increase in education funding since 2013. So since 2013, we have increased funding for education by 110%, yet our scores have gone the opposite direction. There's a graphic here. I wonder if I can find it on X real quick. But that should infuriate you. As me as a parent, knowing that I grew up in this system, it was fine. It felt fine back then. I was fine. Things were fine. But now we're looking at it, and it's just so bad. I'm going to try to find it real quick. I should have it. I know what the graphic looks like. Oh, is it? Nope, not that one. I repost a lot of stuff. So I repost it so I can know, so I can have it for when I talk about it later. Is it this one? Yes, it's this one right here. So I want to share this one just for you guys to get a graphic here so that we can kind of look at it. This is over on my X account. You'll get to see my X account here, the Evergreen Report. PNW Conservative, he is one of my favorite people on X of all time. He has been leading a charge of taking back Washington, a grassroots operation, and so I am a big fan of his, so shout out to you, PNW Conservative under Washington. You are fantastic. So, change in spending since 2013. So we're starting here, right? Spending, green, grew 110% to $20,300 per pupil. Holy crap. This blue, look at this. 8th grade scores fell during the decade and continue to decline. We fell 2015. We went up a little bit in 2017. Bam, 2019, COVID. Look at that astronomical drop in 3 years. Holy crap. We dropped from right around 4 points to 15 points. And now we dropped even further since then to closer to negative 20 points. Yikes. But we're spending all this money. Fourth grade reading scores fell through the decade and continued to decline. So they spiked a little bit. 2015, we went up. We followed a good trend, spending helped there. But no, what happened in 2017? Really, what happened between 2015 and 2017 to where there was a slight increase, but a big decrease in literacy? And then boom, 2017 to 2019 is where we see a steep drop off by a couple points here. What happened between 2017 and 2019? And that's what I want to know. That's the question. Because look, we find the dots here. A big gap here. We went from, looks like 21, 22%, and we jump up to 40 something percent. But the gap widens significantly right there in 2019 to 2017, 2019. Ask questions. I want to know. I want to go talk to a representative, someone in the education department about this. What happened here? What happened in 2017, 2019? Because this is when my first daughter was born. And this is just really, really interesting. And then it continues to decline. 2022, we see the COVID dip. Absolutely fell off a cliff during COVID. But look, the spending continued to increase. We followed 2020. Look at that huge spike. Look at how big these gaps are. If that doesn't concern you, I want to talk to you about why you're not concerned with test scores falling that dramatically, but funding going up that dramatically at the same time. So proposed fix is House Bill 1140. Let's see if I have anything on this bill. I may not, because I don't think this is a bill that I prepared to talk about. I just wanted to cover the statistics mostly. So I didn't talk about Bill 1140. Let me see if I have an article here. I should have an article. Washington process, property tax, system failing. Here we go. 1140 introduces ESAs, Education Savings Account, letting parents use tax dollars for private schooling, tutoring, or therapy. So this allows for more school choice. So it's a shift towards school choice, which I'm a fan of. If you listen to me on my other show, Young Dad Podcast, I'm a big fan of school choice. There's a lot of pros and cons of school choice. I think if done right, it can be great. But you have to know where it's coming from. Allowing parents to utilize education tax dollars for various educational services, including private schooling, tutoring, and specialized therapy. So that would be something like a ABA therapy, or maybe that's something more of like a intensive outpatient program. There's many options here in our state, so that's great. Con, it could shift funds away from public schools. No, I mean, $20,000 per year per pupil. You're taking one pupil out of that. That's like their funding that follows them, and you can take that and put that with them into a private school or tutoring or something more aligned with your value or family values. I'm okay with that because then it alleviates some of the burden on public school. Essentially, less can be more in the public school setting if we kind of even out the playing field here. So I'm in favor. I'm in favor of this. House Bill 1140, something that, I mean, it's an educational reform to prevent students from falling further behind, hopefully. Again, it's about putting your money where your mouth is and putting it in the right place. This is Blue. This is Podcast Kitty. She likes to make her appearance. Every podcast, she's great. She's my little kitty. Yep, she's great. Anyways, thanks, Blue, for appearing. I got to get back to this. We're on time crunch here. Washington teacher arrested for sexual crimes. There has been an insane jump in teachers over the last 3 to 6 months that are being arrested for sex crimes in Washington. It's mind-boggling. It's massively concerning. A lot of these are in King County, though, because, that's where all the pervs are, I guess. They have like a little pervy teacher ring, I guess. But I don't know. But it continues to go up. A Washington State teacher has been arrested on charges related to sexual misconduct involving minors. And it's not the first one. There's been many. The school district placed him on leave while the investigation is ongoing. A teacher accused of sexual misconduct with minors should absolutely have their job revoked. But placing them on leave is fine. Raising concerns about background checks and school safety. Again, schools are breeding grounds. Schools are grooming central for our children. So we have to be very careful. We have to teach our students to speak up, to fight back, and to not fall into the traps. They have to understand what that grooming behavior looks like to be able to protect themselves. The teacher was taken into custody following allegations of inappropriate behavior with students. The school's response, the educational institution placed the teacher on administrative leave pending the investigation. Proceedings, authorities are conducting a thorough investigation, and the teacher faces multiple charges related to sexual misconduct. Multiple charges, not just one, multiple. That tells you it's multiple students, and it's been going on for quite some time. Of course, now there's concerns about trust and safety in the educational environment, which, yes, there absolutely should be. School community, staff, and admin dealing with the repercussions of this incident. That's going to be a PR nightmare, but as it should. You should have pervs in your school, and you absolutely shouldn't be trying to keep them safe or anything like that. That's just asinine. And local authorities, local law enforcement, and legal teams handling the investigation and prosecution. So good. Good. This incident has prompted discussions about implementing stricter background checks. Yes. Monitoring systems. Yes. Within schools to prevent future occurrences. Yes. Keep our kids safer. Damn it. For everything that is worth, keep our kids safer. We don't need our kids being more unsafe. Keep our kids safer. That is your job as a school. Keep the damn kids safe. Keep these people out of the schools. Do whatever you have to do to ensure that. I don't care. A lot of us parents, we don't care how much that's going to cost either. If it comes down to the safety of our children, we will take I can't speak for everyone, but if it was me, I will take a 1% property tax increase if it's going to go for child safety in our schools. I think most parents would agree. If there was a way that we can help fund it, taxes, whatever, we'll pay for that damn tax. We'll pay, or we'll cut another tax that we're not using and reallocate it to there. But keep our kids safe in the schools. There have been too many incidents. One is more than enough, but multiple at this point in time is absolutely bad for everything and everyone involved, and for every single one of these children. I'm so sorry to their families. I'm so sorry that the system failed you. Yeah. Well, let's get into it. Let's get into our second to last segment here. Let's jump into it. The woke wire. Crazy headline of the week. Senate Bill 5181. I have talked about this one a lot. I should be tired of talking about it, but I'm not, because Senate Bill 5181 is one that I am incredibly passionate about. Let me see where I'm pulling this article from. I don't know where I pulled this one from, but the woke wire, the crazy headline of the week. There's actually two I want to talk about. The first one's in Washington State. The other one's actually in Wisconsin. If you know about Wisconsin already, I'm sorry you have to hear about it again. But it's just funny. Washington lawmakers seek to repeal parental notification law. So Senate Bill 5181 would repeal parental notification requirements for minors seeking gender-related medical treatment. Thank you, Jamie Peterson. You pervert. Supports minors making independent healthcare decisions. No, if a minor is 13 years old, they do not have the ability cognitively, mentally, emotionally, logically to make these major medical decisions for their gender, for their medical treatment without parental involvement. This absolutely 100%, there's no con to this. The con is that it supports making minors making independent healthcare decisions. When they are too young, they are too naive, they are easily influenced, and they can easily be influenced by other students, teachers with ideology, with agendas, people in the schools that have agendas that will help them do this. Right? Con. This isn't a con. This is a pro. Critics say that it undermines parental rights and removes safeguards. Yes, it absolutely does. The key stakeholder in your child's life is you, the damn parent, not the school, not the government. It is you, the parent. What is my cat doing? I can see her. Oh my. Anyways, I'm gonna pretend like I just didn't see that. But it undermines parental rights. It removes safeguards. We don't want that. Bad. The second woke headline that I want to talk about on the woke wire here is Wisconsin. What are you guys doing? I thought you guys were a conservative state. I guess not. Why are you trying to change state law to read from mothers to inseminated person, father to parent, and all the other terms along the way? As a father, I'm a damn father. I'm not a parent. You're not going to undermine me. You're not going to take away my title. You're not going to take away me as a father, because you're not the father of my kid. I'm the father of my kid. Nobody else. You're not going to take that away from me. The mother of these children, oh my God, you poor mothers in Wisconsin, I'm so sorry. You are being degraded to a level of inseminated person to fit some kind of woke ideology, and it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. And I hope everyone in Wisconsin is waking up, and I hope this is a big wake-up call, because if it's happening in a place like Wisconsin, it's going to be happening in a blue state near you very soon. To try to follow the same, they're like, oh my God, that's such a good idea. Let's all change it to inseminated person and change fathers to parents and undermine parents even more. Take away more of their rights and more of their safeguards and all these things. That's what they're doing. It's so bad. Please don't fall for these traps. If anything comes like this across Washington State, I will be on this podcast and I will be shouting from the freaking rooftops about it. So, I get fired up talking about that one. Senate Bill 5181. I hope it dies. I hope it dies a cold, slow, painful death on the floor. And Republicans, our leadership, fight tooth and nail for that bill not to pass, or to repeal it, or whatever they have to do. Do not let that bill pass. From every one of your conservative parent constituents, from myself, from the audience members who may agree, please kill that damn bill, so we don't end up with inseminated persons being the next step in that. Anyways, last segment here. Washington versus the world. And what I really should have done on that the woke wire segment is I actually have a voice changer.
And I should have used this baby one to say the woke wire. So now we're back to normal.
I should have used that one. Maybe I'll use it next time. I'll remember I have a voice changer button. So hopefully you found that entertaining. That was the woke wire. But now we're getting to Washington versus the world state comparison. So I just want to take time to compare Washington State to the rest of the world. There are other states in the country to see what we're doing, what they're not doing. So let's take Texas. right? The great state of Texas. Texas is like my number one draft pick for state I want to move to personally, if I can convince the wife to do it. Texas recently cut property taxes. What? A state cut property taxes? How are they going to have funding for all this stuff? They're better at budget. Meanwhile, our state's trying to raise them. Homeowners in Washington are already paying more than many states, but could soon be paying even more than those in states with tax relief. So it should be about making life easier, making getting a home, affording a home easier, not harder, like our state's trying to do. So follow Texas's lead on this one. Don't keep doing whatever you're doing right now, Washington. Your voice matters. I had a question from a listener. Why do property taxes keep rising when schools say they're underfunded? Well, school budgets are going up, but bureaucratic spending often takes priority over classrooms. And that's true. That's the answer. That's the end all be all of that one. Property taxes keep rising when schools say they're underfunded, so they got to find money to fund it. But you already saw that graphic, 110% increase since 2013. Scores are going down when money's going up. Where is all that money in those gaps actually truly going to? Those are the questions we need to continue asking. If you want to make your voice heard, call your representative. I always put those details in the show notes, ledge.wa.gov. You can look up who your representative is on the legislative website as well. You can see what district you're in, how to contact those people. You can find their X profiles. A lot of them are very active on X. So go and just shoot them a message over there. If you have a story or concern, send me a message over on X, or I will be putting Instagram together later this week or throughout this week. So I hopefully have that up by next week, by the time episode 5 comes out for this. So you, for now, send it over to me on X, and you can follow us on X over at the Evergreen Report at EvergreenRPT over on X. So, guys, this has been so fun. Know the facts, demand better, take action. See you next time right here on the Evergreen Report.